up some concrete structures, not handle, but we have some concrete waste block from the old block plant.
Okay.
Maybe we have something of that nature. We need to look at how many more spaces they're looking for.
Right.
They're requesting 8.
Okay. The other problem we have down there is
Parking spaces.
It's hard
Well,
to keep
spaces
them.
for their vendors, I don't know. How big how big is each space?
It's
Mon?
just, well, the 3 barricades that are there now usually, I think, take up 3 to 4 parking spaces, and there's 8 total, if you would include those, so, 2 or 3 more barricades
2 or 3
across that one little section.
Okay.
Between the island where the tree is and up against the farmer's house.
75 feet about.
75 feet, okay.
Where the tree line is.
So we'll see what we have, but as far as Jersey berries go, the Jersey salberry, we don't have any extras currently.
Okay.
The other problem we have is they continuously get bumped by trucks and cars, so it's an ongoing battle all summer to keep them in place. I think we can pin them, but it's not really the preferred thing to do.
Mike, what about the water barriers that?
It's 6 of one, half does the other by the time you spend the money, and I think the concrete is more durable. It's always good to have some of those floating around for traffic safety purposes, so
They would be
you might want to invest.
Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Okay.
We need to look at what it's going to cost.
Sawhorses wouldn't work.
No. They'd use those as a skating board ramp too.
Oh, boy. Okay.
So I guess anything that you find, and I guess any creative plans.
We'll look at the, go down there tomorrow and see
Okay.
if we can come up with a.
Okay, thank you.
Well, barrels, just dirt, throwing 55-gallon barrel.
They'll take a look and see what they got.
And Mr. Chairperson, I'm going to suggest we skip over 2 since the representative isn't here to discuss.
And then the new appointment with the munis rep is, I know that's.
We haven't scheduled that yet.
Okay.
They did get back to me today, they're going to say that they are looking already into early June, so we're looking
Okay.
at June 5th, June 6th,
I
if
guess-
that works for the two of you.
I won't be here,
when-
but I can Skype.
Yeah, we probably could bring in that, or I can ask them to push, I mean, will you be back shortly thereafter, or?
The 12th.
The 12th, we can push into that one.
Okay. All right.
That's good. Thanks, Brian. Let's see what else. So now we're on to opportunity to hopefully appoint a grant writer, someone to help aid in the community development office. It's just an amazing amount of work with the DRI, with the upcoming CFAs. It would be helpful to be able to have some additional help. And
I think Director Miller might be able to bring us up to date.
Yeah, we had a conversation earlier this week with Amy Vaughn about the possibility of hiring a full-time grant writer for the city. Her recommendation, based on her many years of experience, was that grant writing is a very specific,
with time.
they're very
Seasonal.
specified.
Right.
Yeah. And you need somebody who is experienced in grant writing for arts and cultural crafts versus engineering. And her feeling was that if you hire a general grant writer, you would spend a lot of time following grants that you might not have the requisite experience to write a successful one.
So maybe consulting with specific grant writers who have talent in
Consulting
those
with
areas.
specific grant writers, depending on the topic, and she has a very wide and experienced network, and she's actually here today.
Oh my gosh, Amy, hey, how's it going?
Yep.
So would that be helpful to have some?
Yeah, definitely, especially for the CFA season, somebody to handle that writing for the city on a contract basis, and then as needed going forward with different grants and likely on an annual basis as CFA rolls around. And then at some point in the future, if the amount of work warrants it, I would consider and bring it up to the council hiring a full-time grant writer, but at this time I think contracting it out would be the best way to go.
And so far, in terms of the budget impact of contracting, how does that look?
Based on the figures that Amy quoted us for this CFA season, it would be well within the ability of the CDO budget to cover that cost.
Okay.
So.
That's great.
How long would it be for?
The CFA closes mid-July, right?
July 27th.
Yeah, July
Right.
27th, so about 3 months.
And then, I'm sure that everyone here is aware, but with the CFA process, the CFA grants are used to definitely help augment communities that were able to take advantage of the governor's $10 million in the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. And the monies that are offered through the CFA process leverage the $10 million to make that $10 million exponentially more. So because we were chosen, it puts us in a very good position to get at the top of the list to potentially get some great funding to continue the projects that we're working on.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else to add, Matthew?
What exactly, Matt, would be the 3-month period, I guess, that we'd be looking at starting Pronto?
Oh, yeah, because the CFA opened a few days ago, and it
Right.
runs to the end of July, so yeah, immediately, as soon as possible.
And so the city helps residents fill out applications, or they fill out applications for residents?
No, there are a list of projects in the CFA round for this year detailing opportunities. The city would take a look at those opportunities, find out which ones would best dovetail with the projects involved with DRI, and then pick the top, I would say, 2 or 3, and then Amy would help to put together the actual wording and application to send it to the
Right.
state.
So in order to expedite this, just because the season's already begun, are you looking toward a resolution to make this contract, in the next week or so?
Yeah, we were provided with draft language. I'm gonna review it, I'm gonna have
Okay.
Dean look it over, and then, I would like to have something in front of the council next week.
Okay,
Is that even necessary? It's within your budget and it's a personal services contract, so I think we'd be able to just do it
Okay.
regardless.
Oh, that's
it just,
fantastic.
it doesn't need our
Yeah.
approval then. Good.
And
Well,
just for
all the
point of
better.
reference, it's the same contract I've used with the city
Right.
for
Right.
years.
Yep.
Right. So,
And we've been
that'll make it even
brainstorming.
faster.
Yeah, and there's about 5 projects that didn't get funded by the DRI that they said would be candidates for additional funding, and we brainstormed about another 10 beyond that we could. We're just throwing a bunch of pieces things against the wall and see what kind of sticks. And so if any of you have ideas, we're gonna look at what is being successfully funded in previous rounds and in other municipalities and stuff, so this is the brainstorming part
Yeah.
for next couple of weeks, so any ideas anybody has,
Well,
please
and
bring them forward.
thank you. Would you be willing to let us see what you're considering too?
Sure, we've got
And
an
weigh in?
updated project of all the grants that are outstanding, the
Okay.
ones that have been completed, the ones that are kind of stale, the ones that are working on an ongoing basis, and then these new ones, and we can send you that spreadsheet.
Great, thank you.
I guess I just wanted to fall back note. The personal service contract would be with you, Amy, and you would be
It's her business.
Like
your
Finishing
business,
her
and you would be
business.
farming out to
Well, she-
different.
She does the work.
She has Finch Network, which she is the head of, right?
Yep, she-
Yeah, I have a business, I have subcontractors, because it's CFA season, and it's so busy in order to produce that many, I work with other people in the field.
So the personal service contract would be with you and your
My
business.
yeah.
And was the city awarded any CFA grants last year?
Not to my knowledge,
We didn't submit it.
we didn't submit any,
There was no submissions last year.
not last year.
What about the year before?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was,
2 or 3, that would have been,
Yeah.
each year we've gotten about 2, which is on par with other municipalities.
and being a DRI recipient puts
Is
us,
your golden ticket.
exactly.
Yeah, for the next several years,
Mhm.
so.
I really like golden tickets.
Me too, especially when there's chocolate. So, great, so anything else, Matthew, Amy, do you have any?
Oh, Dale
I
has a
have a
question.
I'm sorry, Dale.
Oh, this comes out of your budget, the CDO budget,
Correct.
and how much will be left after that? Any
Uh,
ideas?
probably on the order of somewhere between 25 and 35K, I believe.
Okay. And is any of this DRI funded?
No, this would come out of the CD budget.
Solely the CD budget?
Yep.
Okay.
Now,
It's an investment.
Great.
would that amount also factor in if we look at a event coordinator or?
Yeah, that includes the budget, included the budgeted amount for your event coordinator.
So that would be, that budget is aside from an event coordinator, or
Yes.
Leftover after.
there'd be,
that,
be left over?
Any other conversation, anything, concerns, questions?
Can I just?
Yeah, of course.
I'd encourage you, and I just gave the same pep talk to the mayor and Matt yesterday, but when you're brainstorming, go back, the to-do list or the what they're gonna fund, the golden ticket list is your LRAP list. What we came up with on the LRAP, what wasn't funded, and what wasn't funded with the DRI. That those are the two that, you know, the state will be really interested in. They've already said, and they've already approved, it's been vetted, and so they're gonna look favorably on those, and they're in all our planning documents, which is what we should be following. And also, you know, some of these grants will generate an administrative fund up to 15%, so there would be some revenue potentially depending on what the funding stream is.
Because you're gonna need that capacity to administrate the grant.
Correct.
Mhm.
One thing that is relatively new that we didn't anticipate back at DRI is better access to the lower parking lot. That's consistent with the evolving parking plan to make sure that people can access free parking without having to walk very far. And we are doing some research and putting a footbridge over the railroad's tracks just on the west side of the railroad station. Comment with that, and we're getting some estimates. So
I think there were stairs once, a long time ago.
Was there?
I think there were. Do you, no, maybe not. Maybe it was an old picture I saw. Yeah, that's great. Amy, is it within the confines of the contract agreement that you'd be able to help brainstorm as part of the process of, you know, having such intimate knowledge with the city's past and you know, grant applications to be able to make recommendations to
Sure, it's what you guys decide. We've batted around some stuff.
Okay. Because I would just love to know from you too, what you think we would be in best position, you know, to spend our efforts on. And then we obviously will look through the list, but it would be nice just to have your professional recommendation.
Yeah, again, I think just doing a refresher course on the LRAP and all that stuff on the DRI, you know, that's the list to really pull from. And then you may want to look at something for the rest of the city, because we haven't applied for anything for the rest of the city.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
Okay,
You mean outside of downtown?
yeah.
Okay.
good, thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Of course it does.
Any other reports from any other managers?
Just briefly, because I know time is
No, it's okay.
of the essence. Just to let you know what I've been working on since December. I didn't make copies for everybody, unfortunately, because everyone was going to attend. But the general code project that we've been working on for the last few years, we got the editorial and legal analysis. I received that in December, and I've been working with department heads and corporation counsel. And our submission date was tomorrow, but I had actually worked with everybody, and we got it submitted April 18th, well in advance of the due date.
That's amazing.
So they'll look at it. I believe they have, and I gave you a breakdown of, they'll have 145 days to review it. They'll get back a draft to us. Then we have so many days to review it, then we'll get the final stages in 2019, and hopefully we'll have an updated, beautiful code for everybody too. And it'll be, part of that is the electronic code, so it'll be available online, all pending litigation. There'll be a section for that once it's brought in to, once it's passed and submitted to the state and filed, it'll be brought in, hard copies will be made, we'll be updating our hard copy version, and our electronic version will also be updated. So it's a great project. There will be a cost every year afterwards to keep it updated, but I believe it's going to be well worth it. And I think the end user, the residents of Plattsburgh, even people who don't live in Plattsburgh, I get a lot of requests from outside areas asking for what's your law on this, or what's your law on that, or where does the city stand on this for zoning. I think it's going to be very user friendly. And if you look at the city of Glens Falls, they actually have used general code, and they have the code version. And I encourage you to look at it, because it actually is a really nice feature that the city's going to have for our residents.
Well, I know,
Sounds great.
since I was on board when you were hired, that this has been your goal from day one. So it's just, thank you so much for this, such a thorough report on it.
And I'll make copies for everybody after I'll
Yeah.
send it to you via email.
Right, well, congratulations and thank you.
A lot of hard
Everyone's
work.
effort.
Everyone, thanks everyone.
And teams, everybody, so.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
I'll ask the clerk of the housekeeping situation. The files that you maintained in the side office, you have files, boxes of files?
Mhm.
Where do they all, do you keep moving them?
Mhm.
Where are they now?
I'll show you after.
Oh, okay, they're in there?
And didn't you physically move them all, pretty much?
Public Works helping me with
Okay.
racks, and I moved most of the boxes, yes.
Okay.
You got your workout.
I did get my work.
Upper body.
Have they found a home, or?
That's where they're going to stay for quite some time, I hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have to be approved storage? Is there any guidelines to how things are stored?
There are guidelines to how things are stored.
Are those guidelines being met?
There could be, it could be,
Always room for improvement?
yes.
Okay. Because the original thought was they were going to be stored in the MLD base.
Well, because ideally, you should have an inactive storage record area. Ideally, you should have a docking area so that, you should have a filing area so that when records are taken out, they're tracked, when they're brought back, they're tracked, who has them. It's quite a process. When I had consultants come in a year ago, that was our goal. And unfortunately, that building, well, fortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, the building is up for sale. And there really was no viable space within City Hall in the outlying buildings that we had. None of those were considered really viable spaces. So, I would hope that if we ever build another building on city property, that then would be an option to have a centralized storage area, that we utilize right now. Each department basically has their own records. We have a few storage areas within the building. None of them really, are great,
Okay.
but they can store the records, so.
They get the
Now, in
job
the
done.
past, we've talked about possibly converting a lot of those old records electronically.
You still have to have an inactive storage record area. You still have historic records, you still have records that, going forward, yes, but you can do electronically, but there still actually has to be, even with electronic records, there's retention that has to be done. You should have an off-site area as well as your own in-house, and, Brian Green would probably be
Right
better
here.
to.
Well, before you
address.
dispose of them, or before you convert them, what you really want to do is go through them all and find out what you can dispose of first, because it doesn't make any sense to convert something if you're gonna dispose of it anyway.
Labor intensive.
Yes.
Right.
So we have boxes. Thank you for all the hard work in making that happen, too.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Any other reports from any other managers? All right, well then I think what we'll do is we'll skip down from 3 and we'll skip down to number 8. All of the others are very important and we're gonna get to them maybe in this meeting, but if not, we'll be able to get to them in the open session, but
We could also approve them as a slate to be
Absolutely.
moved to the agenda, right?
and I'm comfortable moving all of them
Okay.
as a slate.
Okay,
I'll
all
make
right,
a motion.
all right, second? All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Okay.
So, yeah, does anybody want to kickstart number 8? Does anyone have any questions or any need for extended conversation?
The code of conduct.
Yep.
I think we just got the updated version emailed to us.
And Duff's got a hard copy.
They all have.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I do.
Do I have a copy? Oh, here it is.
That's that. Okay. Monica.
Can I just say something about that?
Yeah, of course.
So, we got ours this afternoon, and it was version 8, and I changed the version 5. We, as managers, I haven't, and I don't know if I've gotten the latest version.
You guys were over here.
I didn't get it electronically, I went in my office afterwards, and so, but thank you. So. First one, do you want it, or make a decision on it, and you can really, I would like to be able to really review all of the changes, and I know there's been some, and I did read it, and there's a lot in there that I do agree with. I don't know that, the one of the things that was very cumbersome, 16 pages. So I would just like to review the final product before.
I couldn't agree more. I was gonna suggest something very similar if we could like take a look for a week, because I haven't been able to review the most final drafts either.
I'm comfortable with that. It's reasonable, makes sense.
Same sign.
I concur.
So we can go back, let's see, we have 4 more minutes. Did anyone have any questions about 1 through 7? Everyone's comfortable with those?
Oh, do you mind, Matt, just saying a few words about number 6, the economic development consultant contract for Dock Street waterfront?
We received one proposal in response to the RFP we issued for the economic development consultant to handle the Dock Street project. It's a gentleman whose office is over in Burlington. The proposal he submitted was well within the budget that's allocated under the DRI grant. He's got a great deal of experience. He expressed a willingness to set up a temporary office in Plattsburgh for the duration of the project. His timeline is within the bounds set by the state agency, although we may have to ask him to compress it a little bit just to keep in line with what they're looking for. John Ruff spoke to a few of his references and he came very highly recommended. So the full review committee was confident that he is capable of doing the work and we'd like to bring him on. He is available to start on June 1st.
Did he put in a response to the Durkee Street lot as well? Or
He
is
did
it
not.
just for Dock Street?
Yeah, he's specializes more in waterfront work, so.
He's from Burlington?
Yes.
Makes sense.
And that June 1st start date, although it may be a bit crunchy as far as the timeline, it would work within the time frame of what we're looking at to.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with ESD this afternoon, let them know where we were at, what the schedule was looking like, and she was comfortable with that. She recommended we have a conversation about possibly accelerating the initial stages to get the RFP out as quickly as possible, but she was confident that that would not be a problem.
And so this is the consultant that will do what?
This is the consultant that will put together a more complex RFP that will attract developers to actually build structures on the lot,
Right.
whatever structures those might
So, and the time frame, just roughly, you know, not that you have to be perfectly clear on that, but how would the timeline then proceed, you know, with this person's work and then with the RFP going out, roughly?
Sure. If he started the project on June 1st, the schedule that he included in the proposal has the RFP going out by the end of month 3, so that would be end of
Okay.
August, beginning of September.
All right. Okay.
And
Thank
these-
you.
And this would be from developers who are interested in breaking ground?
Right.
Yeah, the RFP will go out to
Right,
developers.
to those. Has there already been quite a bit of interest brought forth informally?
Informally, prior to my tenure, there may have been, but I don't have any direct knowledge of any outreach.
So there's nobody like tracking, where are we at, so I know when to submit, anybody asking questions like that, or?
Not currently, no.
Okay. All right.
Now, this is for a consultant, and is his end product the RFP, or is he gonna stay on during construction or during
No, it stays on after the issuance of the RFP to assist the city with reviewing any proposals that come back and negotiation of any eventual contracts with the developers to make sure everything's on the up and up going forward.
So how long will his term of service be?
The full term of service is 6 months, was quoted in his proposal.
Okay.
Okay, so the first 3 would be developing this RFP.
Yep.
And then the.
And then
the
allow
latter
to
three.
let developers put together a response, and then once they come in, you would help us review it, score them, and then put a recommendation to the city council.
And did you meet with him personally at all?
I have not met with him personally, no.
For the cost of this contract? Is there?
The pricing quoted was $128,000 and change. The amount allocated under the DRI contract was $150,000.
Perfect. And I'm wondering, based upon a past experience we've had with development on North Margaret Street, there was some question about somebody's financial abilities to produce what they say they're going to produce. Will that come into play with this project, with these projects? Or is that going to be another department's concern?
You're talking about the eventual developer, whether or not they have the capital to...
There you go, yes.
Yeah.
They afford what they say they're gonna do.
Yeah, that will certainly be part of the proposal review process once the RFP goes out and we get responses back.
Part of this process, okay.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's something that this consultant could help with.
That's
Right.
something that he would definitely help with. Yep.
We certainly don't want a repeat performance
Right,
of what was
that's-
originally intended for that piece
I
of
wanted
property.
to-
Yeah,
Hopefully
this-
that was gonna be a key component of this.
Right.
Any other questions? If not, then a motion to adjourn this meeting and move into work
So
session.
moved.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, old
Old
business.
business.
Any old
Did have
business?
any movement on the ethics commission or the ethics board for the government?
It's not, it has not been formed yet, and we're still working on it. If you wanna pitch in and we can all meet together, if you have ideas, or, I know that, I believe actually, yeah, we should get together and continue to work on it.
Okay,
Maybe schedule a meeting for next week, Dale?
okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second? Any, no new business?
Oh, new business.
So we're just breezing through, I'm sorry. Did you have anything, Rochelle?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with an idea that you had brought out at our last meeting concerning whether to permit Fledging Crow to have a parking space in the Drury Street lot. I know that there's been some back and forth between you and Ian Otter, so maybe you could update us.
I have not had any updates from Ian, within the past, I think, couple of weeks.
Okay.
I know that he, is obviously very interested, and I can't, and Sylvia, I'm trying to remember all of the technicalities, and I'm not sure if you remember, but there was something where agricultural,
They don't
vendors.
need a permit, they don't need a vending permit from the city, they're selling produce.
Okay.
What do they need if they want?
Well, they need insurance because they're gonna be on city property, which they have provided for a year, starting, I'd have to look at it, but I think it was from May to May 18th, May 19th.
All right.
So they have that. I think, and Dean, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, you just need to decide if you're going to allow them a space, where you're going to allow them.
Right.
How is it going to be barricaded off? Because currently we don't allow food trucks, obviously, in the parking lot because of potential hazard of people lining up for a food truck.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I
so
have a-
all those mechanics need to be worked
Yeah.
out.
Well, and I have just a question too. Where do you guys think a good spot would be for them?
I'm totally confused on what you're talking about.
Fledging Crow wants to be able to vend their produce downtown in the
Yeah.
city, and,
And we accepted them into the market, okay, they paid their money. And,
Oh.
but they said they didn't want to go along with the rules and regulations, but they wanted to be there, so we sent them a letter, we haven't heard back from them.
I think the issue is that, if I'm not mistaken, the issue is the CSA pickups, and it's in your bylaws states
Yeah.
that no one can have CSA pickups. You know, the way that they structure it, I guess it's semantics. They have a gift card system that they give to people, and then they're able to redeem those gift cards for items. And it seems like you view that as being a CSA pickup still?
I called Ian twice and never returned my phone calls. I'm
Okay.
trying to work with Barry between us to get on the same page.
Do you guys have a solution so that they can be
Well-
included and still work with the model that they work with?
The solution, I don't know, it's kind of hard because I see he's looking for a refrigerated truck, so any sales are better than no sales, he's at CBPH or Fletcher Island on Thursdays.
Mhm.
Why couldn't you make that a CSA day and then come down and join our market with all the new promotional stuff we're doing here? We're gonna work for barricades.
Right,
To
absolutely.
make it a whole better thing and keep us all together.
It's kind of like,
Easier stress on the city.
it's kind of like asking you to change your business model with your business.
Yeah.
That's their
I
business
changed my
model.
business model, we've done business 40 years.
I guess
Keep
that
doing everything.
they may not be willing to change their business model, and I understand that you guys have rules and regulations that you need to abide by. So I guess what I'm asking is the courtesy, since they're not going to be able to follow your rules and be included in your market, we want them to be kind of centrally located so that it's easy on that day for people to be able to access, you know, a number of different vendors. And like the city clerk said, it's possible for agricultural producers to be able to vend within the city. So proximity-wise, if they were to be in that parking lot, where would you want them? If it was up to you guys, I'm not saying that we can grant it, but I want us to be as
Right now-
collaborative as process.
Right
as
now,
possible.
we have a lot of other vendors with interest that show us that we're doing new ideas. And we have like a bunch of different brewers and stuff that are willing to come in. And not as a full season, but
Do like tastings
a
and-
rotating tasting.
That's awesome.
So it works intertwined with their businesses. So we're kind of trying to preserve those 8 spots
Mhm.
because we have so
Yeah.
much stuff. that's
And this
already
is
locked
above
in.
and beyond those.
Yeah, we're not
This is a
talking about
completely different
encroaching
location,
upon that.
But within the parking lot.
I guess you'd have to put them down the grassy end where
But-
it's a
So then they
safe
wouldn't
zone.
technically be part of the Plattsburgh Farm.
Well, and,
No.
and we're not asking for them to be part of the farmer's market, but that's more or less where they're gonna end up.
We just,
in
you know, the
parking lot.
market starts next week and we just have no idea what's going on.
Such a-
with him,
such a
because he
great
won't
spot.
call us.
You
know, we
mean,
have
no idea what's going on with them, you mean?
With him, yeah.
Well, that's why, I'm glad you guys are here.
We did reach out to him, I mean, I told him I wanted to understand his concept on the whole gift card and see, you know, CSA, and I talked to among these guys. And I looked throughout New York State and a lot of markets won't do CSAs.
Mhm.
So it's about a 60-40 split, 60 don't want CSAs.
Right.
Why is that? What's the rationale against CSAs?
Because I think the CSAs, they just go there to pick it and they go and they don't go explore all the other vendors.
And that's your opinion.
Well, no. I
That's
mean,
what the
That's one
others
of the reasons
said.
why they have
Yeah.
a 60-40
Um,
split among farmers.
But it's almost
markets.
50-50, where 50% think, almost 50% think that it could be a help.
That they
That
shop
they
at CSA
go and then or they shop first and go pick up their CSA and leave. So it's, but I understand, you know, you guys have your rules and regulations.
Well, if they join, if they see if the rules are written, that if they join them, next year they're gonna be a voting member, then they can make the change in the bylaws, say, oh, they're not doing
Right.
CSAs. But because they're not actually under the farmer's market this year, they can't make that change.
Right,
And,
it's just for the last few years, they've had a presence downtown somewhere, and they wanna continue in that capacity, doing what they do. And we're trying to just make it safe, so that they're not.
Well, I wish
upset.
everybody could get on the same page and work together and be a smooth transition, but we also need to get Ian to actually call us and talk to us.
Well, let's, Josh and I, try to mediate the situation and, work on a resolution but if none can be met, I think we're both willing to grant, at least put forward a resolution to permit their occupancy on the
Is
50th
there a
Street
reason why they
parking lot.
can't be up in that grassy knoll part up there?
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll look into
but
that.
would
That
not
would
take
be
up
the,
parking space.
right.
That wouldn't take any parking space other
Right.
than the vendors going to see them.
Okay.
But I think the only concern is just that the sod is about a year old, and
Oh.
to have a lot of traffic, have stakes and things kind of going
Yeah.
onto it.
Do they have
when it's
future
this new.
plans
No.
for that, where it would make a difference?
Okay, all right.
Pardon?
Do they have future plans
Okay.
for that, where it would make a difference?
It's
in
still,
that?
it's still kind of in progress, but,
We
you know, it
hadn't
was a.
considered the soddy
beautiful
area.
Yeah,
space,
yeah, no, it looks very nice.
And it's supposed to be for, you know, people to go and enjoy, so.
If they were down at that end, how would that impact, I know, toward the end of the year, the end of the summer, you have the one big, with the children
So,
and if they were
That's gonna be a
down,
little bit different
so
this year.
this year, instead of doing the big Children's Day, we're actually doing 5 or 6 bigger days, bringing in more activities, music, with the grant that I got. So we're trying to do it where the people are looking at the calendar, the farmer's market, and say, oh, let's go to market. continually is looking, and not just looking for that free day where everybody gets all this free stuff leaves. We're trying to get it where we do raffles now, we put gift baskets together and sponsorship, and now they have to go spend like $1, $2 at vendor and automatically get into this raffle.
Awesome.
So the money is actually going back to the vendor and stuff. And like with the barricades I'm working on sponsorships. If the city doesn't have barricades, there's nothing to say that I can't get diesel or another company and say, okay, we'll donate this to the city to help you get more spaces. But we can't grow without the space because we do have a lot of vendors with these different brewers. And you know, like if we do like a homestead day, educational day, a safety day, we need to have some kind of protection to block people and then
Those 5 different events are, their space requirements are calculated within the 8 additional spots that you're?
75 by 35, and if we think we can, the only thing is the safety day might be an overrun day. And I think, and Bonnie said we might have to ask for additional permitting for that day.
First, just a single.
But we're seeing what we can work with that space. And what I want to do is I want to have, like, we bought a PA system and stuff for having more music so people can look forward to it during the day and not at nightlife. And then put more picnic tables out so people can enjoy it with their families. I mean, it's a lot going on, we're working hard on it, but so far it's been an overwhelming response from a lot of places, and I have mended some hiccups from the farmers market to some other organizations already, and they're coming back on board. So I brought some people together, and Ian's my last one that I can't seem to reel in, and I get along with them, and I see them out and stuff, just, we need to get on the same page, and he's gonna have to work with us. We might budge a little bit, he's gonna have to budge too.
And we'll continue to work and see if we can kind of, act as maybe.
We do have lots of ideas to the market, so we hope you guys see.
Already, what you guys have proposed, it's absolutely amazing, and you guys have provided such an amazing service to the city for so many years, and the fact that you are continuing to improve is just continuing to make the downtown.
Yeah, the grant definitely jumpstarted and helped us, and how we're doing different marketing, so we got more money now to reinvest.
That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the work. I know it's a lot. So I guess, any other new business?
I'm afraid to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
So let's now begin the work session for the common council for this evening. This is an opportunity for us to have a little bit of extended discussion on items on the agenda. I believe Councilor Kelly would like to also take a few moments to prepare the councilors for his budget presentation next week. With your indulgence, can we begin there then?
So we starting that next week, Mike, or after the MLD meeting tonight?
Well, I'd just like to maybe take 5 or so minutes to talk to you tonight, and then we'll pick up where we leave off tonight next week.
Okay, but that's in addition to what you're going to say right now after the MLD board meeting?
We're not going to say anything after the MLD board meeting, if I can speak now.
Yay.
I'll let you speak then.
Okay. I just have something I want to throw up on the screen. I may.
Slide this over to the right to make it your. You have to put the adjust it. Oh, okay. Maximize it on the screen. Here, awesome. There you go. You got it.
No problem.
Will it automatically appear there, Brian?
It'll just take a while to come up.
It's in duplicated notes, so whatever you see there.
Here we comes.
Okay. Okay.
John, would you mind?
John,
taking
can you
that
get the
one?
lights, please? Thank you.
Ooh.
Put one on. People watching it. Put one on. Yeah.
The one, other one.
The other one.
The other one.
Okay, this is.
Yes, thank you.
Patrick, did you have a chance to see my email about this earlier today?
Yes, and instead of replying, I'll say it sounds like a good idea.
Okay, that's fine. This year for the start of the 5-year plan, I thought it'd be good if we make a mission statement or some assumptions, and they're on the screen for you. The first is cost and value. We will deliver the best service for the lowest cost to our taxpayers. A structural balance, we will create balanced budget. Unassigned fund balance growth, we will increase the unassigned fund balance steadily over the next few years. And sustainability, we will create budgets that are sustainable for many years to come. So with that as a basis for the 5-year plan, then if we can agree on these assumptions, then we'll have a foundation on which to build our plan. Is everyone in general agreement that these are good?
I like this approach. It helps us to kind of have a rubric for how we approach things.
Okay, if there's anything you would like to change in terms of language or even intent, please say so, because this will form a basis for all of our future work. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight is inflation rates. One of the factors that we use to build our 5-year plan is what do we think inflation is going to do for the next 5 years. In 2018, we assumed an inflation rate of 2.5%, and that included 1% for what we felt like were additional health care costs. So we anticipated inflation at 1.5%. We had an add-on of an additional 1% just for what we thought, the additional bump in healthcare costs would be. So it turned out that inflation was actually quite a bit higher in 2017 than we thought. So in 18 and 19 going forward, we have to have an adjustment there. So I would recommend 3% be our inflation mark for.
And I believe, Mike, in your email, our actual inflationary increase total for 2017 was 3.1%,
including the 1% add-on for healthcare. That's what it would have been had we predicted, spot on. Of course, that's hard to do. So I would recommend that we make that figure 3% and then watch it very closely as the months roll by throughout the end of the year. One of the things that we did last year on the 5-year plan was we revised it 15 or more times. So it's a very fluid document, and as we find new challenges and new rewards, new revenues, that sort of thing, we can add those in there. As long as we have your general agreement at this point that you're okay with the underlying assumptions and you're okay with our assumed inflation rate of 3%, then we can move forward to the next steps.
I will ask, under cost and value, we will deliver the best service for the lowest cost to our taxpayers. What will be the guidelines for that? I mean, we heard at the last financial report that expenditures were up and revenues were down. I think at that point we thought we were giving the best service for the lowest cost. And will that also include hiring and setting salaries?
I haven't really worked out all the details, but my first reaction is we already have a lot of controls in place to make sure that we're delivering the best service for the lowest cost to our taxpayers. That's why we send things out to bid, for example. So I believe we do that, and we must continue to do that. And I think you're right also, Dale, to be very vigilant about the revenues and the expenses, and are the taxes coming in at the rates we had hoped? Those are the kinds of questions we need to ask. So Does that answer your question?
It does.
Oh, you asked about salary also.
Well, I mean, service, lowest cost.
It's a balance, I guess.
Right. I mean, our service is provided through our people.
Yes. You know, we don't want to, I don't want to,
I guess my question, Mike, too, would be, if we're looking at that 3% assumption
yeah,
every year, and I don't have the figure off the top of my head, and I don't know, perhaps Richard would. The previous years, what were the inflationary increases and also the health care increases? I mean,
Well,
if we're looking at 3%, I mean, if assumption, or if the healthcare increases were not as large as they were in previous years, and there's also talk, and Colin, you would know this certainly better than I believe that the inflationary index is projected to be higher over the next couple of years,
Right.
as opposed to what they've been in the past.
Right, and that 2.5% that we've been using is what Richard had calculated. That seemed to make sense for previous years, but we also know we're moving out of a very low inflation environment. Federal fund rate is starting to go up because they anticipate inflation rising, et cetera. I think that's something you're also going to encourage us to do, is upper interest rates going forward for future bond issues, because we're
Yes,
moving into the normal regime, abnormally low regime.
yes.
So I guess my question is, are we being realistic with the 3%?
Because I think one thing we'll have to look at is the return of the retirees' health insurance. About 1/3 will go back to where they were originally, or where everybody's going, and we'll have to look at that cost.
Which is
projected
going to
out.
cost us more than
More
we
than the 1%
anticipated.
that
Right,
we're-
especially during the next 5 years.
And also the rate, any
Right.
rate increase.
Right,
Right.
and that alone,
Well, I'll just have to say that I'm grateful to all of you for thinking this way and asking these questions as we go along. You as a council have made some really, really hard decisions in the last couple of years, and I believe we have some more difficult decisions to make going forward. But as long as we don't forget those assumptions that we're making, we will have guidelines to help us. So, any other questions or concerns at this point? Okay, next time we meet, next week, immediately after the council meeting, we will discuss 3 other facets of the 5-year plan. And keep the process going.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Are there any other items you'd like a little bit of extended discussion on, or any reasons for executive session? Would anybody like to offer any councilor comments or reports a little bit
Oh,
earlier?
yeah, I can do that. So, instead of at the designated time, I can talk about the library. The director wanted to acknowledge all the work that went into the big read during the month of April, and all the diverse organizations that participated and helped. And she extended special thanks to Julia Devine from the Center for Community Engagement for basically conceiving of and executing the whole program. The librarians are contacting school librarians about the library summer reading program. So that's gonna be launched soon. A SUNY Plattsburgh intern is developing, and anybody who wants any of the documents, I brought a packet with me, for the Creative Makerspace. So that's a really exciting collaboration. This was the year anniversary for Chapter 1, Coffee and Tea, and the board approved a contract for another year. And that's about it.
Thank you.
Are there still 2 Board of Trustees positions?
Oh, yes, that's true. Wait a minute, I think it was 1 now. Hold on.
The city keeps stealing all of their trustees.
Yeah.
We have to stop doing that.
Let me just look through my notes and let you know.
I believe it's 2, because there was Alex.
Is there? I thought,
And then I left.
I just saw 1. I think they may have appointed 1. Hold on. Yeah. I can't find it.
Just 2 brief things. Saturday, there'll be the renaming of the Penfield Park Little League to the Hector Duquette Field. There's quite a ceremony, I imagine. Pardon? That, it starts at 9 o'clock. It starts at 9 o'clock, and my understanding is that there will be a number of former players from way back in yesteryear in attendance, and that there's quite a celebration or ceremony, I should say, planned for the event. The mayor and I will be attending on behalf of the city also. So that's number 1, and number 2. Friday, I had an opportunity to ride with Chief Ritter for a period of time throughout the city, and it was certainly a very, very educational and searching for the proper word here, certainly rewarding experience, and I thank you for your hospitality during the ride-along, if you will.
Did you get to help arrest someone?
No, I didn't arrest him.
You stopped for coffee?
Huh? No, no coffee, no Dunkin' Donuts.
Thank you. Any other councilor comments or reports you'd like to offer early?
I'll just speak on last week's Public Safety Committee where we discussed the ambulance replacement. I imagine that's underway, looking at the costs involved.
The chief's been out of town this week on training. He'll be returning tomorrow morning.
So that'll be brought forward. Good. And overtime costs today were discussed, staffing, gave on their department and updates. And we also had some public concerns regarding the cat population and also some of the nuisance animals that are in a particular neighborhood, although we all know that's prevalent throughout the city. And hopefully we'll be able to look at that further and in the very near future.
Thank you.
Oh, and I can tell, as an update, I think Peter asked this question last week, the cryptocurrency meeting, or roundtable, that's what I was looking for. And Joe, I know you asked that, I think it's scheduled for 2 on Friday.
2 to 5.
Yeah.
2 o'clock
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yes, that's also tomorrow.
Do we have a location? Oh, Sable Hall? I imagine. Okay.
In a month's time, too, Inc. will be sponsoring a major roundtable on cryptocurrency as well, with representatives from the state, from the Power Authority, and regional energy experts, and that'll be held at the university, I understand, as well. I think they're in the final stages of organizing that, so lots of discussion on cryptocurrency.
Yes. I can move along if we have time.
Sure.
Oh,
Another minute, yeah.
Got a minute. Just infrastructure committee will be meeting next week at 4:30. I don't know, Mike and Mike, if at that time we have an idea as far as our summer schedule at all, or?
You should also mention the half marathon this weekend.
That's right. Thank you very much. Sunday.
Okay.
And that begins at 8 o'clock, I believe?
I believe so.
8 o'clock. And I also understand that they are still looking for volunteers to help with traffic control and so on. So if anyone feels obliged, I'm sure it would be
Go ahead and message them on Facebook or something.
greatly appreciated.
Time to begin. Let's begin the meeting of the Common Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed?
Present.
Councilor Armstrong?
Here.
Councilor Kelly?
Here.
Councilor Dowdle?
Here.
Councilor Ensel?
Here.
Councilor McFarland?
Yeah.
Councilor Kretzer?
Here.
I've just got a couple of comments. First of all, we had a really helpful meeting with the county health department a couple of days ago. There's an amazing woman named Mandy Snay. There's had 100% success rate in grants, and as you know, the health department's done an amazing job in attracting millions of dollars of grants to Clinton County. They're very excited about our shared belief in having more healthy food options for our residents in the city. They're incredibly pleased with the progress of the farmers market, and I know they're working with you on being able to expand affordability in the market and have a subsidization program they're working with you on as a pilot project. I think the first one this far east in New York State. So thank you all for working with them on that. But it's very exciting, and it's exactly consistent with some of the things your committee's been trying to do with regard to downtown food security. And we got to meet John Canoza again. Of course, we've known him in the past as our liaison as the water engineer in the county, but now he, of course, is the director of Clinton County Health Department since Jerry Reed recently retired. So a very productive meeting. They're very much looking forward to working with us. They recognize that we as a city we're considered a food desert, a term I hadn't used before and heard before. Food desert implies that it's very difficult to get affordable and healthy, especially fresh fruit and produce within the city of Plattsburgh, strangely enough, given all the farming that's nearby. And obviously the work of the farmers market is helping to fill that, as is the work of the co-op. So I'm sure you'll hear more. It's going to be a very nice partnership. The councilor saw today also our Chamberlain's update for April financial figures, and we're doing about expected on revenue in one category, a little bit short, but it's only really a timing issue with regard to billing for our marina. Outside that, the revenue's coming in about as expected, as it usually does. And we're glad to see that expenses are still remaining under budget. And I don't think this is any accident. This is really a result of the really hard work from our department heads. As you know, they've been recognizing the challenges that your committee, Councilor Kelly, has been facing. And I think they've been really carefully doing expenditures on a really as-needed basis. They put off where they can. They sometimes delay hiring where they think they can afford to do it. We're probably on average about 5% below the 33% level that we would be normally after the first 4 months now. We're doing very well on those categories, and I thank all the department heads for working so hard on that. Really, the credit goes to them. So that's all I have to offer today, but do look at that packet for yourself that Richard sent out, and he'll be doing some more updates for you next couple of days, and I think you'll be very impressed with your progress.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on April 26, 2018 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Cretzer. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending May 2nd, 2018 in the amount of $101,641.68 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Rensel and second by Councilor Dowdle. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. I think we've heard a few reports. Does anybody else like to offer reports at this time?
I'll note that the MLD board is meeting tonight after the council meeting, if anyone wants to stay and witness that. Should be exciting.
Thank you. Councilor Kelly, maybe you can very briefly update us on your plans with regard to the budget process towards your June 1st 5-year plan deadline.
Yes, just to make this year's 5-year budget plan process a little more educational and intuitive for our counselors, I have broken it into chunks. They're very small, bite-sized chunks, you might say. And tonight we actually put that to the test and it seemed to work. So we will continue in that fashion, and we will pass our 5-year plan hopefully before the end of May, because I plan to be in the Dominican Republic on the first day of June, having a vacation. So hopefully we can get that done before June 1st. Although I guess I could watch it remotely and watch it pass and have a margarita on to celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that covers all the reports we would traditionally offer then. Resolved the reports as listed are hereby ordered received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Kelly. In discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. There's no correspondences at this time.
Resolved that the bills audited by the Common Council for the week ending May 4th, 2018 in the amount of $227,825.53 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kelly and second by Councilor Wenzel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This is an opportunity for individuals to please come address the council on any issues that are on the agenda tonight. There will be another opportunity for public comment for other issues at the end of the meeting. And I'll ask you to please come forward.
If you see, I guess, we're looking for put additional signs on the outside of the farmer's market. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions how I plan on doing it. They're not gonna be permanently put there, they're gonna be off, like, that signs can be moved for the future if we don't stay at the farmer's market, but the same farmer's market sign's been there forever, so people kinda just drive by it. Now we're trying to entice more people, so we're redoing the whole logo and putting the aluminum sign that's 4x8 roughly in the middle of the building. And then all down the side of the building, we're gonna have, say, like maple syrup, honey, fresh vegetables, bread, wine and spirits, all the different offerings we have to go down the whole building, in hopes that people going on Dirty Street can glance over, it's high enough up, and each individual sign will grab someone's attention, being that they're gonna be colorful signs and whatnot.
Shane, have you been in contact with Public Works? Have you been?
No, they said, for the signs you mean?
Yeah.
No, I talked, they said they were to present it to you, I guess.
Okay.
Well, I
I'm all new at this, so I don't.
No, that's fine.
I think that somebody contacted Dick, our president.
Okay.
Okay, and he talked to them about it too?
I did.
Yeah, okay, so that's all I know, I
Do
don't
you know Mike Brody?
know. Kind of.
And I
We'll
believe
get
that
together.
Okay.
Are you comfortable, Mike?
From what I see right now, yes.
Okay.
I think that our building inspector also weighed in and he expressed no concerns as well, if I recall.
That's correct.
Well, that's gonna be Exciting, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other individuals like to comment on any items on the agenda tonight before we begin? Seeing none, let's continue, please.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves our House.
I'd like to make a motion to waive readings of A through G, and if anyone has any, and then just move them all if no one has any issues, since we have a meeting after. Does anyone have any?
I just had one question about D, but
Yeah.
we can
Or so-
waive it and then ask it after it's been seconded.
Yeah, okay. Is that all right?
It's your prerogative, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as you don't anticipate any discussion, you want to keep it all orderly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this would mean no reading on all of them, or we'd vote on all of them?
We would
still have
Vote
vote
in
and
mass.
no read and vote in mass. They all went through committee just now at a,
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Do you have a second? Second by Councilor Ansel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion.
I just have a question on item A, about the power outlet on a city light pole, the $20 total cost. I guess I'm just wondering what the usage is for.
Sylvia still here?
No, it's
Yeah,
Bill.
it's-
Bill Tracy.
Bill?
$20 is just the fee we charge for utility.
This is not for the this is for the actual utility costs for the season. It's not, it does not.
That's the Christmas lights in the
Yeah.
tree.
Okay,
It's different from what you would have had in an event.
okay.
Because it's
Yeah, no, I was just kind of curious as to what the need was for,
They want to put Christmas lights in the tree,
okay,
and they were pretty insistent on it.
okay, then. Thank you.
And does $20 cover the actual cost of the Christmas lights in the tree? Okay.
If they're using LED lights, use hardly any power, and it's for 6 months, more than covers it.
Thank you for being able to resolve that with them. Any other questions for any of these items? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, so roll call, I'm sorry.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Next item is item H.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council adopts the city of Plattsburgh code of conduct.
Move.
Well, I'd like to,
To
do
table.
we move it and then
Move it
motion to
and then
table?
discussion.
So I'll move it.
Second.
Councilor Cressler, second by Councilor Armstrong. Discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to table, just until we have a little more time to kind of go over everything. So that's my recommendation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Armstrong. Discussion on the motion to table? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And no travel requests at this time. Are there any resolutions for initial consideration? Any new business? This is then an opportunity for the public to please come and address the council on any issues of mutual concern. Please state your name and.
My name's Ira Barvell, I live on 62 Club Road. And I was here last week and heard the fire chief talk about an ambulance and replacing, it seemed to me like it was the third reserve ambulance and getting a new ambulance for that, replacing that one. And I took the opportunity after the meeting to talk to some firemen from Albany and other places to find out how they're handling this type thing. And I would like at least the council to consider not necessarily buying a new ambulance. That there are a lot of reconditioned ambulances that are out here that are substantially less in cost and would save a substantial amount of money out of the capital fund at this particular point if that ambulance needs to be replaced. Secondly, there was no conversation, and I plead ignorance here because I don't know about the public safety conversation. But the fact that the current ambulance didn't pass state inspection and there was a health department inspection that it didn't pass as well, it would seem to me the first step would be find out what that was and what is the cost to remediate those issues. I mean, I'm sure it's more than brakes on the ambulance, you know, that has to be replaced, but it might be substantially less to actually invest some money in that ambulance and keep it for another 5 years or so before you have to make a decision to expend a couple $100,000 for a stock type 1 ambulance. Also, in the same area, I was looking at what types ambulances are out there, and there are substantial cost savings by obtaining ambulances that are extended van ambulances, that are transport ambulances. They're not just for some paramedics and EMTs that go out, but they actually are transport ambulances as well, that are van size, cheaper to operate, and may make some sense in terms of what we do. So those are just some things that struck me at the last meeting about options that the fire chief may want to look into or find out about, and you may have already done that. So, but it comes up again with last year's request from the fire department for a new pumper. And again, if you go call the Albany Fire Department, you will find out that they have totally reconditioned pumpers that they hire, as well as other fire districts in that area at a substantial less cost than a new pumper. And if you remember the report last year from the Consolidated Services report, the fire department actually responded to 20 fire incidents in the city of Plattsburgh in the course of a year. These pumpers have commercial pumps on those that never are going to wear out. It's the chassis of the pumper that's going to become a problem. You know, I just think, just encourage you, even though it's in the capital budget and it's not in the other, it's still a cost that the city's going to incur to explore a few of these alternatives around those before making the decision to bite the bullet and buy a brand new engine.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Any other comments from the public, please? Seeing none, I think you're all anxious to join us for the MLD meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Kelly and seconded by Councillor McFarland. Roll call, please.
Councillor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councillor Kelly?
Yes.
Councillor Dowdle?
Yes.
Councillor Enzel?
Yes.
Councillor McFarland?
Yes.
Councillor Kretzer?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Good meeting.
It just, it was expressed in the governance.
Pardon me, we have to meet the phone conference very early. 3:30.
Okay, thanks.
You going Saturday to the dedication?
Well, thanks very much for coming tonight.
Unfortunately, that's
But I thought you guys had a little time to come here in that little while.
It's always nice to hear. You should run for office too. We need lots of help.
I got a lot of heart, lots of prayers. I'm trying to listen to the Monday with the mayor.
Well, thank you.
But I know we got stuff we gotta do. Thank you. We're excited.
How are you?
My name is post-traumatic
Only quickly because we're starting another meeting now.
Could I just
What are you doing? Is that a busy time in the house and all?
I haven't heard any more updates for that, though. We're hoping to have some sort of partnership with the school district, sharing some of our resources and some of our retired offices, help keep the school safe. We already do have one officer assigned to the school, but I think we need more something like this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all those are gonna last.
Well, it hasn't touched yet. We haven't passed it yet. We're still considering code of conduct of some form. But I'm hopeful that if we adopt high expectations for really good conduct and dealing with our colleagues in a respectful way, I think that's bound to resolve. No, I actually requested the code of conduct from the mayor of Vancouver, Canada.
I don't know.
He's got a very modern code of conduct.
I don't have that problem, so I don't.
You can let it use theirs and just name it the Plattsburgh, etc. Canadian spelling to American spelling. But actually we changed very little of it. And then we added at the end the appendix of the items in the charter. So some people say, why have a charter and a code of conduct? Well, the charter really talks in 2 or 3 paragraphs, but then the code of conduct expands to about 16 pages in much more detail. Sure, it's REAEC at
Mayor and City of Plattsburgh-NY.gov.
That'll work. Mayor at, forget the rate.
That'll work too, either one of those.
-NY.
-NY.gov.
Thursday night, they move them, they knock around.
All right, sir, how you doing?
We'll probably get together for talk more about
I think the all floors gets their look at it.
I'm waiting for, I got it.
Doesn't stop.
He's gonna give me 2 numbers. He says, if you try to sell the building without sufficient parking, you're gonna get next to nothing. So he's gonna probably look at, he said, demolishing the building and making a parking lot. Give you an idea of what you would get from doing something like that. And he will look at selling the building with all the parking in there. So he'll give us 2 numbers, take a look at it for that standpoint.
I've loved all the information about it.
Yeah. The other one, man, I can pay. I don't know if I'm every week. And I don't know.
Why don't we do whatever you do, either get together, just try to figure out how
Myself
that
will be it. We'll try to see next week. Well, I'm here, you're talking about meetings, so.
Yeah, I know Dean is gonna be here for an 8:30 meeting, so maybe have to chat all night.
Okay, I can be here.
Okay, let me check my schedule. I haven't had a chance to see you much, it's been kinda hectic, but sorry about that.
And it's gonna get more hectic here.
So once I get the quotes, I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah, you give us your plan, we'll take a look at it.
We'll be there.
I was down there.
New and exciting. I know. It's exciting.
We'll take a look at it, and then I'll send it up to Beth here, and she can put it on the agenda for that week.
Mandy Snee
Thanks for all your great work.
was talking, she's the one from the health department who said how you're helping to manage all the snap.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I've been doing that for a couple of years now.
But I thought that was so admirable, because it means that you do it and then everybody gets
I do the machine, yeah, I do the machine, I've been doing that for, I've been doing that for maybe 5, 6 years.
But it sounds like you do it for everybody there.
Well, yeah, I do.
I mean, that was the impressive part for me.
I do the machine and then everybody comes to me and then I, you know, and it's like,
That's
yeah.
great.
Oh, that's no big, hey, that's more, you know, we do quite a bit with that, with the snap.
Well, and they're programmed to try to get people to buy more fresh stuff. It's just,
It's like, I'm the only one that takes the official whip, you know, people can go to the grocery store and buy fresh or frozen fruit and vegetables and whip checks. Well, there's one that you can use for fresh at the farmer's market, and I'm the only one that signs up to take it. Of all the farmers, I'm the only one that takes it.
I wonder if we could kind of like encourage that.
Oh my God, I've but it's like, but they don't like the idea that it goes through your checking, your bank account, that you have to give all this information. So it's like, it's no big deal. It's nothing. It's not like you get tax paperwork on it or anything like that.
Thank you.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, so it's like,
That's when she said it, I said, well, you know, she's a teacher. She likes helping people.
No, I'm a sucker.
Yeah, I know, what's going on?
I'm a hip. Yeah, I guess that's the most current one. That's the one that's
It's good for you. It's good
No,
for you.
she's yet to version 29.
She's got more
My
energy.
husband had his knee replaced. My husband had his knee replaced in December.
How's he doing?
He's doing good. He's playing golf. He did.
Copying version.
How about you?
Lake Placid is out of the antique.
Well, actually, I read through it,
There's a new doctor.
It's totally messed up.
Yes.
My other one I had done it all.
Like I tell my guys, we definitely don't take gifts from other people, from vendors, because for future favors they expect.
More examples of
Being in the military, they were very strict about that.
Well, I hope you're going to take care of yourself in this part of your life anyway.
Anyway, more fun things so too.
I mean, I didn't see anything
Hopefully,
out of the ordinary.
we got a lot of ideas that we're working on.
Yes,
So.
we'll definitely try to mediate the situation.
I know it. So we get along.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Just in the military, it's the same thing. Because you have to deal with contractors
My
and
family's
stuff
been
like
doing
that.
this 40 years.
And you have to be very
Sometimes do things different.
They'll offer you, try to offer you.
And I'd hate, I
dropping off your car.
didn't see him set up on the house.
Or else you gotta go over the OSI, the Office of Special Investigations.
Yeah.
There's a lot more around between the two groups, but I've already rented a lot of things between.
I hear. Yeah.
I'd hate to see how we should do it. You know, I did my CSAs on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, you can always tell them, they always.
You gotta look at differences, I know he's looking for.
But unlike NCIS, we were watching on TV.
My business standpoint is like
In the Navy,
sales and money.
it's all
I
civilian.
go set up.
In the Air Force,
Which is
it could be
straight veggie
civilians, it
sales.
could be officers, it
More
could be
income.
enlisted.
Right.
But you don't know who you're dealing
It's
with.
like cream on the top.
They're all
Yeah,
called
you get your
special agents.
CSAs.
Right.
And then you got additional sales.
You know that.
You guys
That's money
starting
in the
the meeting?
bank already.
And then you get additional
Right.
sales.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's redo it. That's what I hope to see.
Okay.
Let me get the gavel. Thank you.
Keep working.
Take
We
it
will.
down.
We will. Next weekend, right?
So that we get it done, so we can go home.
All right, where's all my MLD stuff?
So we believe that MLD might be the big this building, windows make up something different.
I already talked to.
I will.
Your, I can't think of the. Sorry. No pun intended. My journalist was asked $150,000 in the bank account that I could use at that time. I just have to build it up to that. It wouldn't be like.
Come to order.
The air conditioning, they're all paid for.
Meeting of the regular meeting of the Board of the Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department is now commencing. We'll start with a roll call. Director Armstrong.
Here.
Director Kelly.
Here.
Director Dowdle.
Here.
Director Ensel.
Here.
Director McFarland is here. Director Kretzer.
Here.
Director Reed.
Here.
Manager Tracy.
Here.
CFO Kluge.
Here.
Welcome, everybody. So the minutes of the previous meeting resolved that the minutes of the organizational meeting of the PMLD board held on February 15th, 2018, the regular meetings of the PMLD board held on February 15th, 2018, and March 22nd, 2018, are approved and placed on file among the public records in the MLD office.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, or do we do a roll call? Roll call. Director Armstrong.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Dowdle.
Yes.
Director Ensel.
Yes.
Director McFarland. Yes. Director Kretzer.
Yes.
Director Reed.
Yep.
That is adopted. Second item on the agenda is financial report presented by MLD CFO Kluge.
The cover page is a pictorial of our revenues and expenses comparison from March 28th back to March 2018 back to March of 2013. There's 6 years of history. As you can see, March 2018, the first column, our revenues are higher this year, year to date, than they've ever been in the past, at 8.3 million. Our expenditures are at 6.6 million. And those are up about $500,000 in part to the Rex and Zex that are added into our power bills. I included a budget report of revenues and expenses. Taking the March bill into account, it's not paid until April. We had $1.7 million of revenues exceeding our expenses so far year to date. And that funding we have put into our reserve accounts, the HDLS restricted account that we funded last month, and $660,000 into debt reserve, $320,000 into retirement reserve, and $700,000 we put into depreciation reserve. So the $1.7 million that we've made, we put into savings for the rest of the year's expenses through January. Our debt payment January 15th of 2019 were covered. The heat season closed at the end of April for our customers for winter heating. We sent numerous notifications to our customers to make them aware of the program to take advantage of it while it was open. And as of May 1st, we're now on summer billing rates so that our customers will appreciate that their bills are starting to go down, and any bills rendered after May 1. From May 1st to November 30th, we're on summer rates. And that's it. We're doing well.
Thank you, CFO Kluge. Resolved that the financial report as read is hereby ordered, received and placed on file among the public records in the MLD office. Seconded?
Second.
Roll call. Counselor Armstrong, or
Yes.
Director Armstrong, sorry.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Dowdle.
Yes.
Director Ensel.
Yes.
Director McFarland, yes. Director Kretzer.
Yes.
Director Reed.
Yes.
Who was the first? I didn't see it.
It was Peter.
Peter.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Item 3, other items. 3A, resolved. In accordance with the request, therefore, the MLD Board approves PMLD bid number 2018-3-1 pole top three-phase switches awarded by Irby Company, Liverpool, New York, in the amount of $49,782.60.
So moved.
Director Kretzer, seconded.
Second.
Director Ensel. Any discussion?
How many switches is this by, or how many?
It buys 10. We had 2 bids. The difference between the low bidder and the high bidder was $122.
$122 on a $49,782.
Well, when you times 10, so it's 1,000, but $122 per switch.
And so, what exactly are the switches used for?
They're used to segregate the power up on the power poles for 3-phase power, so we can open and close, and isolate areas or add areas.
He'll show you one if you want to go out with them sometime. You've seen them all over, but you probably not knowing what they are, so.
I've offered to take them on a 2-hour tour.
Yeah.
Or a 3-hour tour.
3-hour tour, I don't wanna get
That didn't
lost.
work out
So
well
this
for
is
you.
We'll definitely do that sometime. All right.
Very non-committal.
Move to a vote. Director Armstrong.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Dowdle.
Yes.
Director Ensel.
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Kretzer.
Yes.
And Director Reed.
Yes.
So adopted. Item 3B, resolved, in accordance with the request therefore, the MLD Board approves MLD to advertise for bids for PMLD bid number 2018-5-1 substation batteries. Bid opening date, June 12, 2018 at 11 a.m.
So moved.
Director Kretzer. and
Second.
Director Armstrong. Any discussion?
What exactly, Bill? are the
They
batteries?
operate the substation when it's out of power. In this case, it'd be the Ruger Street sub. The batteries over there are past their prime, and we need to replace them.
What is the general life expectancy of the?
It could usually be about 10 years or longer. But they're starting to decay over there, and we're starting to get a lot of false alarms. So their reliability is starting to get questionable.
What do you estimate to be the?
That's my call. That was my next question. What is typical estimate of a price per battery, or what?
Probably about $300, and we'll be getting them. I believe this one is 48 batteries.
48 batteries?
Yeah.
What voltage are these batteries?
I think they're 120 volts over there at that one. There are different volts at the different substations.
So these batteries could not be used in the event you were out on a different substation, they couldn't, if we had a couple of extra.
Unless they're compatible.
Okay.
Do we have a reserve of extra batteries in case something like that happens?
We usually buy 1 or 2 to keep handy. Normally, we don't have to replace the whole lot, but they've been there so long now, over 10 years, so it's time to replace those.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call. Director Armstrong?
Yes.
Director Kelly?
Yes.
Director Dowdle?
Yes.
Director Ensel?
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Kretzer?
Yes.
Director Reed?
Yes.
So adopted. Any old business? I have a question, Bill. How was the last time the MLD board met, there was a new ISP provider for requesting access to the polls. Has that been performed?
The mayor signed the agreement for the pole attachment. We sent it back to them. They are in the process of putting their map together and the routing and where they want to be on the poles. So we're waiting for that. We expect it to be about 300 poles because the customer they're supplying, they're required to come from 2 different directions to supply them.
Okay.
With the internet. In case one route, somebody hits poles and they come down, they still have their internet service from another direction.
Any other old business any director would like to bring up for discussion?
Yeah.
Moving on then to new business. Yes, Director Armstrong.
Yes, I would like to welcome Plattsburgh State students here from Professor Gervich's environmental planning class. They interviewed me last week, and I did my best to give them the responses they needed. I then forwarded some of the questions I was not able to answer to Bill Tracy, and he got back to them. I'm going to request your indulgence as a board here and ask if you would approve their any questions that they might have that weren't answered in the email. Okay. Is there anything you'd like? Looks like you were expecting that.
Hello, my name is Michaela. I'm from Poughkeepsie, New York, if you know it. I'm a junior at SUNY Plattsburgh. I'm a biology and ecology major, so I want to save the world, just like we all probably do. And yeah, I'm in environmental planning, so that's something. My name is Alexandria Elliott. I'm originally from Gabriel's, right next to Paul Smith's. So I kind of view Plattsburgh as an extended home. I am a junior majoring in environmental science.
My name is Kayla Feliciano. I'm from Queens, New York. I'm an education major, so I have to take number of science. It's good.
Great. So do you want to follow up on Mr. Tracy's responses and ask any questions that may not have been clear to you?
Yeah. So the background is that we're kind of creating a radical plan to switch Plattsburgh to completely renewable energy eventually. So we're trying to figure out the steps that we would need to get there and what all of you would think is a correct process together.
Okay, first of all, Plattsburgh is already on renewable energy. Almost 98 to 100% of the power is renewable.
I am aware of like your partnership with, I believe it's Hydro-Quebec.
No, we do not deal with Hydro-Quebec.
Okay, because that's.
Yeah, that was a wrong answer.
That is incorrect.
Okay. Either way, it's a dam on the Niagara, right?
Yes, it belongs to the New York Power Authority.
Okay, and so during certain time frames, I'm guessing probably during the winter is peak use, and at those times we're not completely 100% renewable, right? Because you have to purchase.
That's not correct either.
What?
That's not correct either. Yes, we do have to buy, depending on the winter and how cold it gets. Some years we do, some years we don't have to buy supplemental power. So the supplemental power we is bought 2 to 3 years in advance. And it's a mixture of renewables, nuclear, and natural gas. But we buy very little of it to start with. This year was unusual because of the extreme cold. In December, we had 20 below, 30 below days at the end of December, and we had the same thing carried on into the first 10 days of January, and we had to buy it there. But our power agency that only 40 municipals belong to, they buy all the power for us, and they get the best deal going. So, like I said, they buy it 2 or 3 years in advance. They have computer modeling. They have engineers on contract who do all the engineering modeling and the weather reports and everything, so they can calculate how much supplemental we will need during different time frames, and they buy that power accordingly. They then hedge that power, so floor and ceiling rates are put in. If the price they buy the power for drops below the floor, then we have to pay a little extra for it. If it goes above, which normally it does, the ceiling, then wherever we bought the hedges from, they have to pay the municipal power agency that cost.
Okay, but you are saying that when you have to purchase power, it's a conglomerate of energy sources. It's not all renewable, correct?
It's a conglomeration, but in this state, nuclear power is considered renewable.
I'm well aware. I'm not here or there about which is the best form of energy. I'm just trying to ascertain exactly how much we are using renewables, and it sounds like when we purchase outside power, it's difficult to pin down an exact amount. That is. Well,
it depends what's on the market. Cold weather, like in December and January, renewables are almost next to impossible to get in those time frames because weather conditions. You got snow, you have clouds. Solar farms don't produce anything. Wind farms only produce when the wind is available. So we buy what we can, but you can never guarantee 100% of the power. It's impossible.
I mean, I would argue that there are, like Burlington, Vermont, last year only 0.06% of their energy wasn't renewable. So I think that saying it's impossible to be 100% is a sticky thing to say. Yes, sir, do you have a question?
Well, I'd like to comment, but I don't want to do it out of order.
Okay.
If it's okay, I'd just like to say, people like to use Burlington, Vermont as an example of renewable energy. do you know what they use for their renewable energy?
They use all sorts of sources. They, bring in from outside. They also have their own wind turbines. And they have one emergency backup item that is a gas turbine, and 0.06% of their energy came from that last year.
They burn wood chips, a lot of wood chips. How do you think those wood chips get to Burlington? They don't have that many trees in Burlington, of course.
They do bring them from a certain mile radius outside the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They come by train, which is powered by diesel.
No, boy, isn't that ironic?
So when you think about it, Plattsburgh's energy source is actually more sustainable and more environmentally friendly than Burlington's. They get a lot of credit for that, and we don't. I wish we did, but we don't. So we actually have a more renewable and more sustainable form of energy delivery than they do.
Wait, so are wood chips considered renewable?
Not in New York State, they're not. In fact, you can't burn them in New York State. But in Vermont, the laws are a lot more lax there environmentally. A lot of the schools burn 50% of their heat comes from wood chips, 50% comes from natural gas.
Here's another thing I want you to think about. You young people especially, I want you to think about this. In the year 2005, when you were youngsters, we had a northeast blackout that blacked out everything from Cleveland to Maine, okay? So there were a few pockets of power throughout this region, and guess what one of those was?
Nice.
Plattsburgh.
Good job.
Plattsburgh. Thanks to the people at the MLD, we have one of the most robust grids around, so that power gets delivered efficiently all over the city, and our renewable power from the New York Power Authority is always there. And someday when fossil fuels go by the way, and I believe they will probably in your lifetimes, Plattsburgh is going to be an excellent place to live.
I think we might add one more thing too, and the city has been working with Professor Eastwood on this. I believe when she's completed her analysis, we'll discover that Plattsburgh may have one of the most environmentally friendly carbon footprints of any community in the entire country. The power we use is all sustainable. None of it is generating any carbon dioxide, except for the very rare use of natural gas, but that's even very rare. Nuclear fuels actually don't produce greenhouse gases. So in the environmental scorecard perspective, Plattsburgh does incredibly well in a very, very low carbon footprint. So, and that's something that I think we should be proud of. We're trying to be an energy sustainable community, just as we're trying to be a financially sustainable community too. But we really appreciate your shared interest with us on sustainability issues. That's really important to us.
Yeah, one of the big problems is contracts, because we have existing contracts and we were buying 3 years out. We can't cancel those contracts. And anybody, let's say somebody opens a solar farm down the road here. What they're looking for is a 20-year contract, and you buy the same amount every month. Well, first of all, we can't guarantee that, because typically we only have to buy supplemental once or twice a year. And we may not have to buy it. Then what happens is we would have to buy their power, and we'd have to lose our solar and our hydro power. And if we cut back on our hydro, let's say we bought 20 megawatts, we cut back on the hydro, they'll take that amount of hydro away from us, and we'll never get it back again. And plus also in the fact that, let's say the solar farm says, okay, we'll give you 20 megawatts a month. Well, they can't guarantee they'll give it every day because of the weather conditions. If it's a cloudy day, let's say you have 3 days of rain, they're not going to produce anything. So then you have to go, and then you have to go out and buy it on the spot market at whatever cost is out there. And depending what the LBMP price or the localized based marginal pricing is in the area, you could be looking at anywhere from $100 a megawatt hour to $700 or $800 a megawatt hour, if you're buying power in, when it's hot conditions, real hot conditions in the state, or you got extreme cold conditions, like we had at the end of December and January. The prices go skyrocketing at that point.
I mean, yeah, just a quick question, just because I'm trying to understand this whole thing so we can really make sure it's super clear in our presentation. So you said that the power is bought a few years in advance, and there's people working really hard to make sure that we buy the most accurate amount.
We buy it on the market. They keep an eye on everything until the price is at the correct ratio, and then they purchase it at that time and they hedge it.
Okay.
So we buy our regional municipal power agency buys 2 to 3 years in advance. You also have to look at the other fact. If you're owning a single utility out there like a Plattsburgh, you don't have that same buying power that, say, a Con Edison has or a NYSEG has. Whereas 40 municipals together in one agency, and they do all the buying, they can get more power, they can get the type of power they want, they can get it at the price that's reasonable to customers. Because we do have a senior population that's here, that's on our restricted, pensions and so forth. And we do have a lot of people on the less than fortunate side. And if we started buying power at 25 cents a kilowatt hour, people will be running out of this city wholesale. So we have to buy our power economically as cheaply as possible. And that's why we do that. Now, we try to keep it, like you say, green as much as we can. But you can't guarantee that in all conditions. And even if you do sign up with a green company, like a solar or wind farm, you're gonna have to buy supplemental power from another source. Because, as they say, the sun don't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow.
All right, can I interject here? I'm gonna make a suggestion that if you're willing, Mr. Tracy, that if there are any remaining questions, that maybe you could stay for 5 or so minutes, and that for the benefit of counselors who have people to see and places to go, that we, if it's appropriate time, call the meeting to adjourn and follow up with the discussion after the meeting.
Sure, I'd be perfectly fine with that. I guess we should bring up 6, any persons addressing the board.
Oh.
Renee or Mr. Miller, do you have anything you want to address the board with?
I think I'll save my complaints for next time.
Okay.
It doesn't always have to be a complaint.
And for your benefit, thank you so much for coming. This, I believe, is still part of the live stream, so that if there's any part of the conversation that maybe you didn't get clear notes on, that will be available online too. All right. Thank you so much.
If you could ever have the opportunity to tour their facilities and their substations, it would really educate you. I don't know if that's something you can do, Bill.
I can run into the outside, I can't run them inside, but I can run to the outside and show the outside.
Really happy that you contacted me, and I'm glad you could get to the source of the real answers there. So.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yep.
We don't really have a robust crowd at these meetings usually. But with that in mind, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Director Kretzer and Ansel. All roll call. Director Armstrong.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Dowdle.
Yes.
Director Ansel.
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Kretzer.
Yes.
Director Reed.
Oh, yes.
With that in mind, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I understand.
Didn't you? I did too.
I had
We were gonna have to tell them to come back next week.
I wasn't gonna sign their papers.
Well, whoever
The same thing.
We're seniors, so that means we're getting old.
the cogent plan told him about power and electricity, and he was, what he didn't understand was has to generate electricity for only emergencies. But they do steam power to GP.
Right.
and
Let me give.
I think that's what you.
and that was the confusion there.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Young ladies, can I get you to come over?
Thank you for inviting us to the
Yes, and I can give you the packet I received.
Colin, you probably want your gavel back.
Oh, no, thank you, Gavel, forever.
I have a question for you, it just came to me.
Yeah.
Here's
Well,
your word.
it depends on the negotiation.